Codependency is basically just a fancy way of saying you put others before yourself to the extent that you are almost self-sacrificing. You may be a person who people pleases, you may be a person who tends to overgive. You give to the extent that you start to lose yourself in it, or you prioritize others so much that your needs just don't matter. That's codependency in a nutshell. It's basically just prioritizing others way beyond a healthy point. You know what I mean? What is up, QC fam? It is Queen Chef, also known as Joy, chef, author, healer. I am a chef by trade, writer by gift, healer by nature, and I mentor and teach self-love strategies based on 4 pillars, and that is self-love, energy alignment, purpose discovery, and addressing inner child wounds. So what I like to call it also is what's fix-it behavior. That's my slang term for it, because we get to a point where we always want to fix it because we're fixing we're prioritizing others. So in a sense, we lose ourselves and we depend on how others feel in order to figure out how we feel or if we're good. So it kind of has those 2 sides to it. You self-sacrifice, you overgive, and you literally depend on how others are feeling, because if others aren't okay, we aren't okay. That dependency and that need to fix is causing us to feel like something is wrong. So it must be us. We must be part of the problem. So we try to fight and find solutions for it. Often, so codependency can stem from several things, if I'm being honest. Codependency can stem from inconsistency in how you were taken care of as a child, childhood neglect. It can stem from feeling like the love was conditional or that you had to earn the love as a child. And as you can see, there's a recurring theme because I keep saying as a child. So really, codependency is more often than not an inner child wound. So generally for most people, what that is going to look like is homes that had a lot of addiction, mental health issues, abuse, neglect. If you grew up in a home with any form of those, because we know there are multiple forms of abuse, multiple forms of neglect, any form of those could have resulted in a codependency issue. So that's why it's a inner child wound that usually comes from when you were a lot younger. Now, I know for myself, I always like to give personal experience, personal examples so that people who resonate with this, you can tell if that's your issue or your story or not based on if you can relate. So one of the things for me, I know I was the second oldest of 5 kids. So I had a lot of responsibility. I was 5 years older than my younger sister, and then I had 2 brothers up under her. So when my older sister went off to college or when she was busy with different things with high school, that responsibility fell on me. I had one of those moms who was working a lot, 5 kids, 1 mom. So, she always had 2.56 jobs. And as a result, some of that responsibility fell on us as the teens or as the preteens. So those who know I love to cook, I've been cooking since 8 years old. I learned really young, and when my mother discovered I was good at it, she, it had me repeat doing it. So I did develop a love for it. However, no matter what, it was still a responsibility that wasn't necessarily my responsibility. You know what I mean? So as a child, you're taking on the role of caretaker, and that's one of those things that can result in codependency. Another one for me specifically, and maybe you can relate, was never being taught to really value your own needs, your own voice, never being taught how to set boundaries. Those are things that I had to figure out later on in life. Like some of us who may have grew up the way I did, you had to figure that out later on in life. You didn't necessarily have anybody explain to you what a boundary was, how it was important that you get what you need and then you give others what they need if you can. I had a very giving mother, for example, and like I said, actually go look at my over giving video. I talked about that specifically even more, but I had a very giving mother. So as a result, that's what she taught me. If you can give, even if you have to sacrifice to give, because you'll be blessed for it. You'll be rewarded for it in a sense, or God looks at it as a good thing. Now, I don't go against that teaching exactly, but I don't 100% agree with it. I do for others, but as I've gotten older, as I've become a healthier woman, mentally, emotionally, as I've done all my healing work, as I grow and I evolve and I help others to do their healing work, that's not something I teach anyone. Because most of us, the thing is this, most of us already are going to overgive, especially if you are just naturally a giver. All of us kind-hearted people, good-hearted people, all of us who fall into that category, we're naturally going to give. So if on top of that, being a natural giver, and then on top of that, you're taught to give because somebody else is in need, it teaches you to neglect yourself. And that's the problem with that, because you'll give to others even when you can't necessarily afford to. And that's not really a good practice. It's not a good practice, especially in healing, especially as you're trying to evolve and become your best self. It's not good. Another one that I know I specifically was not taught was setting boundaries, how to set them, what those boundaries need to be based on. It's a process. It is a learning process. And as a child, unless somebody explains to you, you don't do XYZ. You don't let this person do XYZ. Unless those things are presented to you and taught to you, you learn by way of trial and error. And for most of us, that trial and error ends up in a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. And then we figure out, yeah, I ain't gonna do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that's just, it's a sucky way to learn, but that's where most of us end up. Hopefully things like this, teachings like this will reach the right people and everybody won't have to learn the hard way. But this particular video is for those of us who have been through it and we're recovering from it. That being said, that leads me right into how to step away, how to overcome the codependency. And I'm gonna give you 5 ways to do that. The first one is reconnect with your needs and your desires. Now, there's a bunch of ways to do this. One of my favorite suggestions is spend more time alone. I'm not trying to isolate you from the world, but when you spend more time alone, you get an opportunity to figure out what you need, what you like. If you go on a vacation alone, if you go to a restaurant alone, if you just spend an entire day alone, you have a whole day to just spend doing what you want to do. You don't have anybody to use as a crutch to say, oh, well, what do you want to do? Or, oh, well, what do you want to eat? No, it's just you. You have to figure it out. You have to, and then that way you get to see what you like. It's also a process of just rediscovering yourself, rediscovering who you are, and that'll help you figure out what you need, what you like. Because the more you do that, you get to determine, okay, well, I didn't really like that. That's not my favorite. You might rediscover a new hobby. You might rediscover a new food. And those are the things that really put you in line, especially on a tough healing journey. Those are the things that put you in line with being your best and highest self, because you're getting to rediscover who you are at the core. And as you figure out who you are, then that next layer is falling in love with that person again. So that's going a little bit deeper into it, but that doing things alone, that's the first one, and it's very, very effective. The second one is learn to sit with your discomfort. Stop trying to fix everything. You don't like, whether it's guilt, rejection, your family guilt trips you a lot, your parents guilt trip you because you don't do things for them. As you start to get on this journey, and as you start to develop your own thoughts and your own habits and the things that you like to do, everybody ain't gonna like it. Everybody ain't gonna like it. I'm just gonna tell it to you like it is. And you have to be okay with them trying to guilt trip you. You gotta just be like, well, you know, this part of my life is a selfish season. And it's not selfish to just put your needs first, especially if you're somebody who done spent your whole life putting others first. Like, you don't have to do that. And nobody should be making you feel guilty for it, but they will try. They absolutely will try. Bottom line with that one, don't try to fix it. When that guilt hits, you just sit in it, just feel it. Let yourself just sit through it. My suggestions for really uncomfortable times: prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation. If you're a praying person, pray more, pray harder, pray more frequently throughout the day. Talk to God throughout the day, whomever the God of your understanding is. Use prayer, use meditation, because ultimately it's what you're trying to get to when you're overcoming codependency. You're trying to get to a place of solace, and you're trying to get to a place of peace within yourself, and other people aren't needed for that. So you got to learn to sit in that discomfort alone until you can get through it, get past it, and grow and evolve from it. That's the key. The third one is heal the child in you, the version of you that thinks you have to earn love. You don't have to earn love. What you do is become love, and then you attract those pure love. I know a lot of us who feel like we have to earn love, or that love was conditional, it was based on what we did. We become doers, and we always want to do something for the love, do something to prove the love, do something to show the love. You don't always have to be a doer. You get to just exist, walk in the frequency of love, meditate, use affirmations. Like I said, use prayer. Talk to God about how you want to be better about love, how you want to be better about loving yourself. That requires a whole self-love journey. That's another video, but it is coming. That requires a whole nother level of just becoming. When you become love, you project it. That's your frequency, that's your energy, and then you attract back pure love. Understand and talk to that version of you that thinks that you have to earn it, because you do not. You do not have to earn love. Just become it and you'll attract it back. Number 4, set firm boundaries. When you set a boundary, that is what that boundary is. You don't need to change it. You don't, like, one of the issues that we have with boundaries, I know for myself, remember, I'm always speaking from experience. One of the things that I had to learn is you can't keep moving the goalposts. If you're going to make a standard, you're going to make a rule, that has to be what it is. You cannot keep changing it because something went wrong over here, or, like, let's be for real, a lot of times as women, we'll change the goalposts based on the guys. If we set a rule or set a standard, fix my nose ring, y'all. If we set a rule or set a standard, and let's say somebody doesn't quite meet it, like, oh, he got some of it, but he don't have all of it, or he has this, but not that, and technically it's a violation of your standard. It's a violation of the boundary that you set. I know for me, I'll give you a personal example again. For me, when I'm meeting somebody new, right, I do not like, I don't think I can say that on here. I do not like jokes around smecks without the M. I don't like those kind of jokes. I don't like those kind of little innuendos that give hyper sexual, and I do not like that. It is a pet peeve of mine. It is a huge turnoff, and I just feel like you don't have respect for me if you do that. So with that thinking in mind, I have to move forward with that. Like, I can be talking to somebody and it's going good, we're dating and I really like them, but then if they start that and I express that I don't like it, I express that that's a violation of my boundary, and they don't respond right, then that's a wrap for that person, because that's a boundary that I've set and they don't necessarily respect it. That's a wrap for that person. And that's how we have to treat these boundaries, because the more you set your boundaries, again, a lot of this inner child stuff will go back to self-love and self-worth too, because the more you set those boundaries, the more you honor what you feel. If your intuitive nudges are going off and something just like, oh, he did this and I didn't like that, and then but you ignore it, and then down the line you had this huge red flag, but something happened and it's like, oh well, I just ignored it, or I just didn't think it was a big deal. You're gonna beat yourself up and you're not gonna feel good about that. But if you honor that in the moment when it happens and you eliminate it, it might not feel good right at that moment. Like I like to say, every good decision ain't gonna feel good, and that's okay. Every good decision is not gonna feel good, but if you honor it in that moment, I promise you and I guarantee you later on you're gonna feel so much better about yourself because you stood up for yourself. And that's like one of the big things when it comes to boundaries. Boundaries is basically like a firm way to set rules up front, and those rules stand up for you. Those rules are the backing when you have to stand up for you. Number 5, the last one, is learn to receive. I know for us ladies in particular, we really have to step more into our feminine energy for this. And yes, I believe in duality. I believe in balancing the masculine and the feminine. However, as women, we do need to lead more with that feminine energy. And a big part of that is learning to receive. When one way that I did this, I'm gonna give you a few examples. One way that I did this for myself, just when I first started this journey, when I first started trying to find little things and little habits I could do, anytime if I was carrying bags and somebody asked me, did I need help? I always say yes, whether I needed help or not. When if I'm loading something in the car, and basically if somebody asks you, do you need help? Say yes. Particularly, especially if it's a masculine energy, because it helps us to get adjusted to that receive and give dynamic, that feminine and masculine dynamic. And this is not for dating. I don't do dating advice. I don't do relationship advice. Maybe I'm single. That's not my calling. That's not my ministry. But I said that to say it's very important to just understand how that balance works. That duality is extremely important, especially on these healing journeys, because you learn when to use what. And when it comes to codependency in particular, you want to sit in a place where you learn to just receive. If somebody compliments you, this is another one I used early on. If somebody compliments you, you don't have to compliment them back. Just say thank you. Just receive it. Just accept it. For a lot of us, that's hard because, again, we may not have always gotten complimented a lot. For whatever the reason might have been, we may not have gotten a lot of compliments. We may not have gotten, you might be the strong friend who nobody ever really tells what you feel like you need to hear or gives that encouragement. You might be the person always giving the encouragement. So allow people to give to you in the way that you gave, and don't try to give anything back. Get comfortable with the receiving. I know that there are a lot of us who are over 30. I'm 33, I'll be 34 this summer. I know that there's a lot of us out there who just didn't get these lessons, and the way we got the tough part of the lesson was through hard times, through heartbreak, through being hurt, being rejected, neglected, and deceived. That's how a lot of us got our lessons. But now we have the information to apply, because what good is the lesson if you don't get the information to implement and know how to move forward to avoid it again? All we know is it didn't work, but we also need to learn what does work. We also need to be able to identify what in us attracted certain things, what in us is causing certain things to happen. And that's not about blame, but it is our responsibility to heal ourselves, especially after a certain age. And I do hope that I'm able to reach a younger group of women as well to help them avoid a lot of these problems. So anyway, y'all, I'm not gonna keep you too long. Please like the video, leave me a heart in the comments if it was beneficial, if you learned anything here today, and share it with somebody. Like, subscribe, y'all be well, and I will do the same. See y'all on the next one.